Hello and welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Dr. Donald Pelto, and today I have Mr. Tom Herald. He is a small business consultant, and today we're going to talk about masterminds. Okay, Tom, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, Don. How are you?
So I'm good. I'm good, and I'm excited because I think everyone is interested. They may have heard the term mastermind in the past, but no one really knows what's involved. You've been involved with Mastermind for how many years? And there's different names for them.
Well, I have to say that there are different names, 20 groups, peer groups, CEO executive groups, whatever you want to put that coin to. But basically what it is just a group of professionals who are getting together to push each other for accountability and for performance, also on the personal side as well, and just improve how they are personally and professionally. I have to say, though, that being a member of a 20 group or a mastermind type group years ago as a business owner was probably the most beneficial, most educational thing I've ever done as professional myself.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to switch roles and moderate those on the other side of the table, so to speak, has been equally as rewarding, but just from a different perspective.
Now, let's go back to when you were part of a small group or a mastermind group. What made you decide to go into that? Was it an option? How did you find one? If someone's maybe would be interested, but they don't know where to find one.
Well, it's a great question. I was at a point in my career where I would say our company was in the top 5% of our market. We were car dealers, and there was not too much we could do wrong. And I was pretty full of myself. And I had this finance company that I was on their dealer executive committee for, and they had sought out their top 5%, top 10% of dealer performers. They called dealer partners. And they asked them if they wanted to be in this 20 group, which was a mastermind for like-minded car dealers, but in non-competing markets. So here I go, I'm going to go brag and show everybody how bad I am and so forth. And I get there, and there's myself plus another 13, 14 guys who are just like me in different parts of the country. I walked away from that meeting humbled more than I've ever been humbled in my life, where I thought I was just absolutely, rocking it and moving the needle and setting records, and I was just such a rock star at it. I found that, I'm basically in the bottom 20% of that group. And the result of that was challenging because you can't go to those meetings and not come away with this phrase of being what's called reblued. And that's just excited about coming home and doing better now, implementing new ideas.
Wow. And so it sounds like it's a game changer for small businesses, these masterminds.
Oh, it's a game changer personally too, because what you do is you realize you're not alone. You're not inventing business. Mm-hmm. There are people doing the same thing as you do in different parts of the country, going through the same challenges, facing the same battles, and having the same headaches that you have every day, but also coming up with a different type of way of looking at it, or a different way to solve the problem. And if you can open your mind and keep your ego in check, you're going to learn more than you've ever learned at anything in business. I don't think you get a Harvard MBA that's going to be more valuable to you than the education you get with a good mastermind group.
Yeah, I think a lot of people that are entrepreneurial, they tend to read a lot of books and study, but that's a lot just one-sided. It's you analyzing and researching. When you're in a mastermind, it's a different format, right?
It is. It is a different format because you bring everybody together, and you got to have it moderated. So a good moderator will make or break a group, and you have to be able to contain the egos at the same time, inspire the conversation. And you don't want to squelch somebody's input sometimes, though, that you have to indirectly. And that takes a little bit of an art to be able to do that.
So let's talk about some of the local masterminds that people may have heard of, or mastermind type of meetings that people can look up or find some information about. If someone's interested, okay, we're going to go more into kind of the details of it, but what are some websites people can look to find one locally?
Well, there's all kinds of peer groups. There's CEO peer groups. There's brand names that you get out there. There's lots of companies that charge a lot of money for these groups. Mm-hmm. Some masterminds are very expensive to attend. Mastermind is really just a type of group that was started several years ago, going back, I don't know when the first one was started, but CEO peer group, small business executive group, just a professional group of people. Vistage is a great organization for being able to do that as well, and they've got a great brand at doing it. They've got their methodology for how they do certain things. Mastermind is a brand itself, but it's basically more like freeware, where you get a group of people together and they follow that same basic format or principle as a BNI group for networking. You can start a mastermind group for just about anything in the lines of professionals, and you have somewhat of a soft network of support, whereas if you go to a Vistage type of group or other industry professional groups, they have more of a hardline structure to follow, where there's less freelancing. But it goes back to having a good moderator, and that moderator, he or she will absolutely be able to lead that team and develop and attract some quality people with it. Because the learning really happens from the members themselves.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people that might be watching, because this is going to be mostly the podiatrists, a lot of times people would consider maybe getting a coach, and they might not even know an option of a peer group kind of mastermind. Let's talk a little bit about how that would work. How many people in the group? How often would they meet? Kind of things like that. What would be the format of the meeting a little bit? What's in that? Maybe not everyone's different. What works best in your opinion?
I've seen several different formats for that, ranging from every 4 months, where you meet 3 times a year, where you meet quarterly. I honestly think that you need to be able to meet as a group of professionals at least once a month. And you do so, it doesn't have to be as long of a meeting, just to keep things routine and keep the habit that's there, and you develop the relationships over time. So you keep those relationships fresh. Now, if you met monthly, you might want to take 3 or 4 meetings a year and have them be a little longer, where you actually went away from the business, went away from the market. There's so much to be said about the E-Myth, where you get a chance to work on your business and get away from the distraction of working in it every day. But those formats for how you run a meeting, it's getting the right group of people together, people that are willing to make the commitment to participate and to show up to the meetings. That's probably the most valuable, most important element of a group, is people that are committed to being there and contributing.
Yeah. And now, before we were talking a little bit about basically, let's take taking a profession of podiatry. The 2 options you said, one would be in different locations, or others would be different professions. They kind of have different dynamics to them, right?
Completely different dynamics, and you've got to get beyond the element of trust. I've got to trust your intentions. Are you just in the group because you want to spy on me and see how I do things? Go back to when I was talking about my pre-humbled experience. That would have been my thought going into these guys. I'm going to teach them. I don't want to go teach them how to be better. Well, that's not what happens. But you got to get break beyond the trust factor and actually develop the relationships with people, with them knowing that your intentions are real. So the way to do that is to either get people who are non-competing in professions, or they're non-competing in geographic areas. That's the whole benefit of being able to do that. If you could get past it and get into the group and start it off where everybody trusts everybody, doesn't matter where it is or what professions they're in. They're going to learn from one another no matter what.
In terms of now with COVID and everything we're dealing with, is it better, I guess, in COVID aside, is it better in person, or can it be done virtually?
It can be done virtually, and I'm finding that with groups that I'm working with now. I'm hesitant because you can't get around the benefits of shaking someone's hand, meeting them face to face, and being able to see and communicate with all those nonverbal cues that we have, and developing a relationship. But by the same token, my hesitance is there because we're all having to learn how to do that in a whole different way now. And using technology to do so, I'm learning that you can actually read people, what they say, what they don't say, how they move, how they might fidget. You just have to be a little bit more in tune and adept at reading them in a different manner. It's a different tool.
Yeah. So now for full disclosure, we are part of a local mastermind here in Worcester, and we can talk. I'll be happy to interview you a little bit about it. I know we've been getting together. Has it been a year now, I think, with our group?
It's coming up on it. I came back into this part of the country last August, and Steve asked me to join right after that. So I think it was September when I came in.
Yeah, and so we meet once a month. We basically, there's a couple of, I think people that are kind of wanting to know kind of a format. We pick one person, we go kind of a little bit deeper into their issues that they're going on, and then we start with kind of what's going well. What we rank ourselves personally and professionally, and we kind of delve into one person's life. That's kind of what we do. Is that what you found in a lot of them that seem to work pretty well, that format?
It's an abbreviated format of what I've seen that works well.
Mm-hmm.
You want to actually balance the professional side and the personal side. There's also another element there that goes with it that we sort of merge in our group into one, and that's the personal side as being health too. But you typically want to look at all three areas: your health, your personal side, and your professional side, and rate all three. And the idea is that we're there to hold one another accountable to improving ourselves in both personally, professionally, and our health. Because we have to watch all those areas and set goals and helps each one of us to become better leaders in each one of those three areas, the cornerstone.
Now, I know some groups, and I think you talked about Vistage before, they have someone that comes in and presents something for a portion of the meeting as well, and then they dive into things. Is that correct?
Well, when you get a group of business people together and they're there to learn, it's a captive audience. And it is a salesperson's dream, actually. So if you have a captive audience that's going to be there for half a day or however long it might be, and you can do a presentation to them for 45 minutes or to an hour, they're top achievers. So if you could put a group of top achievers into a room and get a chance to sell them something, it's like I said, a salesperson's dream. So what Vistage did that I think is very smart is they find people who have a good product or service that's reputable to sell, but give them an opportunity to train. And they find these people and they give them the format to be able to train and do very well at presenting whatever that product or service might be. As a result, the members of the group, quid pro quo, they're able to get some really invaluable training out of it and good Q&A sessions too.
Yeah, I think that's the key is providing value. When we talk about that, the importance of whoever's there. You have to provide something of value to others in the group, right?
It is, and I think right along the lines with that is with that value, it's knowledge. Knowledge is power, no matter how you look at it. And you're able to gain from your network of people, your network of influence. But for example, say you have 10 to 15 business leaders together, and they're there, and they're busy working on their ventures, and they're not thinking about a retirement plan or an exit strategy or something like that. So you have somebody who's into investments that comes in. Mm-hmm. That person's goal is to gain new clients that would be investment clients. Well, he or she might do a presentation on a retirement plan. Did you know how this is what a 401k is? Or this is the best way to invest your 401k today in the economic environment that we have post-COVID. So if you look at those type of things, there's a lot of valuable information that you take. And the idea is when I go away from that meeting, I can take that idea and I can improve my personal life and my professional life. And if you can say yes to both of those, it's a double win.
Yeah. I know one of the, even as we're talking here, one of the things that was always so frustrating for me is that I wanted to find a group like this. And I tried BNI, I tried a number of different things. And it was, you make it sound really easy. Oh, just search for a peer group. It's really not that easy. I think as professionals, for example, in the medical field, the only time we get together are like medical continuing education conferences. And so but I always find the best part, that whole interaction between the lectures. That's where we make friends. So it's kind of like that, but monthly with those people. That's kind of how I would equate it to make one of these. Is it possible? Because let's say you can't find one. I really had a hard time finding one. I found some benefits in these other groups, but until we made our own, I think people are going to have a hard time finding. I don't know what your thoughts. Is it really easy to find one of these groups with a good facilitator?
No, it's not. I would agree with that emphatically. But if you go back to your talking about conferences and the value of a conference, to me, the value of any conference, regardless of the profession, are the people that you meet, the relationships that you make, and throughout your career. Well, that's what the essence of these groups are. It's these breakout sessions that you might have. It's in between over a cup of coffee, or if you have a chance to break bread and have dinner together at night, it's one of those chances. But you meet people and you exchange information and knowledge.
Yeah.
It goes back to that knowledge.
And then the more you do that on a more frequent basis, the deeper those relationships become, and the more you're able to help
The
help
more you
one
learn, the more you
another.
learn. The more you learn, the more you know. The more you know, the better you're going to be in the whole concept. And I truly believe that we are put together to help one another, and we do that by networking and trying to figure out what that person needs. How can I help that person? And if we take that viewpoint, as Zig Ziglar would say, you get anything in this world that you want if you help enough other people get what they want first.
Yeah. Well, that's great. In terms of, I guess, as we're kind of finishing up this interview about masterminds, let's talk about if someone wants to start their own. Let's say they look online, they can't find one, they want to be their own facilitator, and they want to invite different people to meet one of these. Are there resources online to learn how to do this? Or I know you're with the small business development, you work with that too a little bit. How can people do this?
There's all kinds of ways of looking at it, and I've learned this phrase is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the Dunning-Kruger effect, you have to look it up online and study it a little bit, but you'll know what I mean when I talk about that. We don't know what we don't know, but once we start learning about it, we think we know more than what we actually do. We quickly become an expert. It's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Well, there's a lot of people that will look at masterminds and they might join one and think, oh, that's what a mastermind is. Well, it's because of that Dunning-Kruger effect. Once you start doing it, you're going to realize there's a whole realm of possibilities of what can be happening with this. We could really grow this. And man, if we had this person in the group, the longer that you're in it, the less you realize that you know about it. And that's where I'm at with myself with masterminds and peer groups right now. Is the more that I learn about it, the more I realize that I don't know. But by the same token, the more I realize I'm learning. And that's the part that's exciting to me. So looking online and finding somebody that's got a model, really it's just getting a group of people. And you asked earlier about the size, and I think that it's important to keep the size manageable. You need to have at least 6 to 8 people in it. And I think on the high end, you want no more than 12 or 13 people in it. So you have that. And the key thing is having people that care. They don't want to be there. You want egos, you need egos, but you want them to also be polite and kind and want to help another person. And if they've got that skill set and they're going to contribute and commit to the group, I think they'll do well.
Go ahead.
You were talking about the different formats that are out there, just getting a group of people together like going to a conference. And what I wanted to basically say on that is, take that Dunning-Kruger effect and dive in. Best way to learn how to swim is to jump in the pool and start swimming. Nike's phrase, just do it. Well, just do it. Start a group and get a group of professionals and start having some organization to it and see what you can learn together.
And I think like anything, the first one might not work out. It might take a second one, might take a third one. I know for us, we were kind of floundering until you joined. Not the floundering, but we weren't getting the benefit. And I think the key, like you mentioned, is having a good facilitator. I can't emphasize enough that since you've joined.
Well, let me give you a little bit of a curveball, Don. What do you think is the number one takeaway for you in your mastermind group that you have, that you're a part of?
So the one we're part of together, I think the biggest benefit is learning from other people from other professions. And I inherently apply that to my own business, different human resource issues. But what I really like is the format of the meeting that really kind of helps process certain issues. And there's that level of trust that we have in our meeting.
You're the first medical professional that I met that actually looks at his practice as an entrepreneurial venture. You and Steve Messinio both being in that group, mm-hmm. I think there's a tremendous opportunity there, and I wonder why more medical professionals don't approach their practice as an entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah, and that's, as we finish up, there might be some more, interest in that in a podiatry or healthcare mastermind, whether it be in Worcester or maybe it'll be, nationally. And so kind of wherever you're watching this video, we might have some more information about this going forward, because it might be something to investigate for people that are interested. Some people want to make their businesses better and work on their businesses. And I think a mastermind's a great way. So thank you so much.
Do they teach marketing in medical school?
They don't teach us anything about marketing or sales or business. And we don't know it if we're in private practice. But that's why a lot of people work in groups, right? So you don't have to do any of it.
Oh, right. There's the biggest reason to be in a mastermind group.
Yeah, because we don't get any. And I think there's probably a different, I don't know the name for it, but you think just because you know a lot in medicine, you know a lot about marketing, and it's just not the case. So good. Well, thank you, Tom. Appreciate your time and appreciate your insight on this topic.
Don, I appreciate talking to you. Have a great day.
Hey guys, thank you for watching Healthy Living. You're going to find a few links here I'd like you to click. One is to subscribe to this channel on YouTube. Also, you can learn more. There are some videos here you can see.